Baboju, Bindige Gijak and Dijakas, Mangi Dodem, Ojibwe Bodawadami, Omaumi and Shinabe and Dow, Deshkan ZB and Dunjaba, Bekajranong and Da, Mede and Nene and Dow, alumni, UWO. So I introduced myself as Bindige Gijak. Most people just call me Bean for short, or Bindige, or some variation of my name, or Danny. And I was only actually called Danny in school, so when I came to university or grade school or high school, they called me Danny. And then when I went to work, they called me Danny, and I said, call me Bean instead. They're like, Bean? I was like, yeah, Bean, just call me Bean, because it's more comfortable for me. So very happy today to be a part of this graduation ceremony for all of these graduates who are here, who are graduating from their various programs, from their various fields of studies. And the fact that we get to have this Indigenous graduation ceremony, which is much more meaningful. And I might, like I said in the last graduation, I might have actually attended a graduation ceremony had I had an Indigenous graduation ceremony, because I don't even remember being invited to my other one. I actually don't remember. I was trying to remember this morning. Did they actually invite me? I don't remember if they actually invited me. So this morning, though, before we begin, we always want to acknowledge and remember where it is that we come from. And so this morning we have the Eagle Flight Singers from right here in London, Ontario, who are going to give us that opening song with that drum to remind us of that heartbeat, that connection to Mother Earth, our connection to who we are as Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape people. And here we go. We can rise, actually, in honor and respect. The Eagle Flight, beautiful opening song for us. And it just makes you want to move. Yeah, just makes you want to dance. Made me want to dance. Made me want to sing. Just getting over a cold though, so just gotta nurture my voice a little bit longer. So at this time, we want to turn it over to our elder, visiting elder, who has been with the ISC for a number of years and has been a part of the University of Western Ontario for many years, and been a part of this community, helping students, guiding students, providing that counseling and that help, that familiar face. So at this time, we're going to turn it over for the opening words of welcome to Miss Myrna Kignaswe.
Wana bajon in the way magana look. Ishkote makasan kwa Indigenous cause mondo dem. Bakajanon and Dunjaba. Udawadami Odawa Nishnabi Kwanda this week with Damon. In the opening, I introduced myself. You're all my relatives. Okay? You are all my relatives. Doesn't matter what color of man you are. We are all related. My spirit name is Fire Moccasin Woman, and I'm from the Loon clan. My father's the Loon, and he's the Budawadami part of me. My mother, she's Crane clan, and she's the Jajuk part of me. And I live on Baketjadon territory. Oh, I'm not doing it right. Thank you. And so also I live on Baketjadon territory, and I'm a third-degree Medewan. And I'm really enjoying coming here. With COVID being active and still active, I do a lot of my talking with students and in meetings on the internet or on the telephone. And that's a good thing to practice, I think, in some ways, because then it ensures that you're not out there with people who may be on contact with COVID or any other viruses. So that's just a thought. It's an honor and privilege to be here with you today, and to think about all the people who have, as I was here, our life paths crossed. A long time ago, 50 years ago, I was here at Alt House for a year, and then I was also working with an education council, I believe, for the district. And part of my responsibility was to come here too, as well as the reserves in the area. So over the years, with that responsibility, I was here when a lot of you may not know them, but there was like Art Blue. He was here in this university. I know an ally that was here was Don Simpson. And he worked right out of this building. And they, as well as the other pioneers around here, they started making changes or asking questions about how can this place of learning, encourage Indigenous people to come into its doors. And at that time, there were a few. And now I sit here and I'm standing here and seeing all of you here. That's taken 50 years, 40, 50 years to bring us to this point. And so that's really important to understand, that the people who walked before us, they did a lot of work to get us to this place, this time in 2023. So, all of those things are important to recognize, that the pioneers of blending into institutions happened a long time ago. And now you're here. And now it's your turn to pick up those pieces that they left behind for you, so that you can go out into the world and bring all of your knowledge, your wisdom, and your understanding of the world to others. So that's just a little bit about that I'd like to share with you. The other thing, and if some of you know me and have talked to me over the last years, you know that I'm into ensuring that we're connected to the earth. We're connected to creation. We're connected to all things, because it's those things that are guiding us, those ancestors who are looking after us from over there, wherever they are watching us and encouraging us to do our work. And our work is very, very important, not only the academic work, but the personal work, to gain that understanding of how we as the original people of this land, how much we have to learn about who we are. Because the impact of colonization has impacted us, but it also has impacted the rest of the world, all colors of man. And that's something that you're seeing unfolding as we are gathering here. You know, the idea of the doctrine of discovery and the papal bowls being asked to twist a little bit to come back to what is the truth. And what is the truth? And those are the lessons that are here now for all of us, to understand what the truth is about the original people of this land and colonization. So I didn't expect to talk about that, but I guess I was supposed to. I don't know. I just listened to Spirit. Okay, I just listened to Spirit. So I would just like to ask you to take a few moments, and as for the students who may have worked with me, is to ground yourself every day, every morning, every night, and different times during the day, when you are dealing with something that is on your inside of you that is, say, stressing you out, or something that's sort of gnawing at you in some way. It's time to do breathing. When we came here as humankind, when it was time for us to be here, you know, we were given instructions by the Spirit. And the Spirit gave everyone instructions. The 4 colors of man, we all have responsibility here on this creation. So one of the things I encourage you to do is connect with that Spirit the way you understand it. I'm not saying the way I do it or anything else like that, but you have that connection, and it's already inside of you. It was part of what you came here with. When you came here onto this earth plane, you already had it. So I encourage you to do that. And so I'm asking you, if you would sit with your feet flat on the floor, take a few moments to connect to that Spirit as you know the Spirit inside of you, and take those moments while I do this opening prayer for this most beautiful day that we're experiencing. Okay? So as you breathe in all the positive energy that creation has for us, and it's for everyone. And then on the out breath, when you blow it out your mouth, you're letting go of anything that's negative that's in your vessel or in your area. So I ask you to do that while I do this opening. Abba Shoma Shomas, Ishkote Makasan Kwayandishnakas, Mondodem, Bikajanan and Dunjaba, Budawadami Odawa Nishnabi Kwayanda, Nisvi, Bidewan. Oh, Chimigwach Kashemnado, for this most beautiful day, for this most wonderful life. Chimigwach, for all those things you have given us, all those things we see and all those things we cannot see, for the wind, the rain, the ice, the snow, the rocks, and the fire, the 4-legged, the 2-legged, the winged ones that fly in the air, things that crawl in the earth, things that swim in the water. I say, Mommy Gwendam, I'm so grateful for all of those things. For the trees and the grasses and the medicines and the herbs, the fruits and the vegetables. For the 4 colors of man, the yellow, the red, the black, and the white. And for all those things, all that knowledge and wisdom that's surrounding us in this creation, I say, Mommy Gwendam, for that. Chimigwech, for the spiritual leaders around the world, for their songs, their ceremonies, their drums, their shakers, all of those teachings and those understandings of how to live life, how to be connected, how to be in relationship with one another, how to have community. I say, Mommy Gwendam, for all of those things. Chimigwech Gashemnado, for the sun that travels across the sky during the day, for the moon that travels across the sky during the night. Chimigwech, for our precious earth. Shkagangwakwa in my language. The one who provides the sustenance for all of us, the water we drink, the air we breathe, and the food we eat. Chimigwech, for all of those who are following their original instructions. I say Chimigwech to you. Chimigwech, for watching over us and keeping us safe, for opening up our hearts and our minds and our spirits and our souls to do your work, the work that you intended us to do on this creation while we are here. I say, Mommy Gwendam, I'm so grateful for all that is in this creation and in the universe, from the sky world to the earth plane to the underground. I say, Mommy Gwendam, for all of that. Chimigwech, Nakanagana, all my relations. Oh.
Oh, Miigwech Myrna. Miigwech to our elder here. My clan mother, by the way. So we are of the same clan. She is my clan mother, clan grandmother of the Loon clan, the greatest of all clans to walk the earth. That wasn't a joke. It wasn't a joke. But we are all related. And as I look around the room and I look at the graduates and I look at where they're from, and the connections that I have to, well, I have a cousin who's graduating. She might not even know we're cousins. I hope she knows. Hopefully her mom did a good job of informing her who her family is. And then others that we have here in the circle, like I have a relative coming from Kitigan Zibi, and we're probably related somewhere back there many generations ago. But we were all connected and we were all related in many different ways. And the beauty of this graduation ceremony, how far this institution has come to have this special day, to have this special honoring of our Indigenous, our Anishinaabe, our Haudenosaunee, our Mushkegowuk, all of those nations who are represented here, to be represented in this way and to graduate in this special way. And I think back to the days when Amanda was ready to burn this place down. And because I had to hold her back. I said, Amanda, no. We were a ruckus bunch of students. And we really were. We really were a ruckus bunch of students. And I think back to that time. There was a time when there wasn't many people that we could turn to within the institution. And so we had to go to see the vice president of social sciences, and his name was Mr. White. I'll just leave that out there. His name was really Mr. White. And he told us, he said, well, I've informed Aboriginal policy, Indigenous policy. I said, well, that's nice. I said, that's good. I said, but when you only talk about Native studies, I said, those of us sitting around this table, I said, we are Native studies. That's the difference. That's the difference. We are Native studies. And so the university has come a great deal because now there's somebody we can turn to in the institution. There's somebody that the students and the staff and the faculty can turn to and ask for help and support. And so that individual is here with us, and she's going to give words of welcome. And that's Dr. Christy Brissett, Vice Provost, Associate Vice President, Indigenous Initiatives, Western University. Give her a round of applause.
Miigwech. Bonjour, everyone. So good to see you all. Neta Nokikwe, Indigenous. Kiko Nandunjaba, Mjike Dodem, Anishinaabe Dao. So my name is Christy Brissett, and I'm from Kettle and Stony Point First Nation. My clan is Turtle, and I'm just so very happy to see you all here. And I'm very honored to support here at Western in a new role. The new role is an administrative role, and the title is Vice Provost and Associate Vice President, Indigenous Initiatives. It's a long title. But I'm very, very pleased to be here. And, when Bindigan just mentioned that I'm the go-to person officially, but I work with an amazing team, and I'm looking around the room. I see members of the Indigenous Post-Secondary Education Council. I see staff members, community members, faculty, other administrators, students. We all pull together as a team, and that's what our ancestors want us to do. Those are the instructions they left us with, so I really acknowledge the amazing people who I work with every day. And I'm very honored to be in this role and to bring these issues to the leadership table, because these are the groups of people who I work with. I sit with other leaders at Western, and I ensure that in discussions that we have, that Indigenous perspectives, worldviews, and interests are always presented first and foremost, and they're not anymore last to be considered. So I'm really honored for that opportunity to lead that work. I'm also an alumni myself. I am have 3 degrees that I received from Western. I really enjoyed my time here. But when I was here in the 90s, we didn't have the Wampum Learning Lodge. We didn't really have the level of support that we have through the Indigenous Student Center. And we sure didn't have the support that we have for Indigenous initiatives now at Western. So it's a great day to be a student here at Western. We have such growing supports, and we're so happy that we've been able to work collaboratively to provide supports for students. We have improvements all the time happening to curriculum, bringing in Indigenous knowledge and knowledge keepers and elders, making that very relevant to our experience here. And we're also very grateful for the allyship that we grow here at Western as well. There's only so many of us as Indigenous people who are leading the way, and we really do need allies to come alongside us and support as we lead. And I see that here at Western at an increasing level. Many people are growing in their knowledge and wanting to sit with us in that truth, spend time understanding the colonial histories and the impact, and then move forward in a good way towards reconciliation. So today I want to acknowledge you all here, our beautiful elder who helps us all the time, Elder Myrna. Acknowledge the drum, beautiful, powerful, and acknowledge this beautiful land that we're on. And also acknowledge you all, students, graduates, for your amazing work, for your perseverance, for your resilience. I know it hasn't been easy, but you've done so well, and obviously walked in both worlds, bringing Indigenous knowledge together alongside Eurocentric knowledges and moving that forward in a good way for the benefit of all people. And I want to acknowledge your families who are here with you. I see so many beautiful faces in the audience, supports, moms, sisters, brothers, partners. It really is very heartwarming to see in celebrations like this how many people it takes for us to be, for how many people is required for us to all come together and experience these kinds of successes. So we really acknowledge the support of your families and supports to support the students who are here today. And also, again, acknowledging the staff. The staff here in the Indigenous Student Center and also the Wampum Learning Lodge give their all every day. And I know, I see them come, I see them go, I see them stay late and come early. These people are very committed to your successes, and I really want to honor them and acknowledge everybody for their work. So thank you for being here today. I just want to, again, thank everybody and those who have gone before us. I think about our ancestors who have done a lot of hard work, paved the way for all of us to be here today. I think about my own grandparents and their grandparents before them and everything that they have sacrificed for me to be here today. And all of you have ancestors who've gone before you. I really want to acknowledge all of their work in ensuring that we would be here today and be so successful as we celebrate your graduation and your next steps that are yet to come. So, miigwech to everybody.
All right, miigwech, Christy. I was just thinking back to our elder here, Myrna. She mentioned 50 years ago that she was attending this university and a part of this university in different ways. And if you think back 50 years ago from today, 50 years actually, we're celebrating the 50th acknowledgement, the 50th anniversary of Wounded Knee. Right, in 1973, the American Indian movement went and recaptured land taken from them, and the history behind that. But what's most important is the awakening that was taking place during that time in the 1960s and 1970s. The awakening and the movement of people. And that movement of people, even though it may not have been in an educational institution, that movement of people, that awakening led to this, led to your graduation today. Those ancestors that they're talking about, those relatives that put themselves on the line, right? Woke up and put themselves on the line. that ensured that somewhere along the way there would be things like this for all of us and for future generations. And so it's all of that work that culminated, because I know my Auntie Myrna here, she probably, I don't think she was at Wounded Knee, but she probably wanted to go. I can imagine she was amped up to go, as were many of our relatives. But that awakening that occurred throughout those years of the sixth fire, what's known as the sixth fire, leading into the seventh fire, was a tremendous time which leads us to today. And so we are but the seedlings of those seeds that were planted many years ago, right? Many years ago. So we have much growing to do, and you as recent graduates have much work to do. You have much to yield in your life yet. And so at that time now, I want to call our keynote speaker, who's a cousin of mine, so we're all cousins here. Another cousin. So my cousin, Miss Summer Brissett, and I'm going to read her long bio here, 2-page bio in 8-point font. No, just kidding. Just kidding. But Summer Brissett of Kettle and Stony Point First Nation, Western alumni with a Bachelor's of Arts in English from 2001 and a Master's of Professional Education in Indigenous Educational Leadership from 2013. She is a storyteller, playwright, educator, and curator. Summer is currently working in the arts as a consultant to both arts and educational organizations. They have worked closely with Museum London, the Grand Theatre, the London Arts Council, and the Stratford Festival, among many others. They are proud to have held a spot on the 2019 Junos Host Committee. She has co-curated 2 exhibits to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Ipperwash Resistance, and also held their first art and storytelling exhibit at the Forest City Gallery in 2022. In 2021, she debuted her first play in the Grand Theatre, Love Song for the Thunderbirds. She is currently writing a second play, The Rum Runner, that is supported by Native Earth Performing Arts 40 Seeds for 40 Seasons grant. Summer also teaches 3 art courses for the Anishinaabeg Education Institute. So at this time, please welcome Ms. Summer Brissett. You shouldn't write bios if you don't want to be embarrassed. I always have a hard time writing bios, to be honest.
Jimmy Gwed. Alberjo, Neobanastic Indigenous Mang and Dodem. Wilkodang, Minwa, Ajodanang and Donjaba. Nishnabekwe, Minwa, Bodwadamikwe Ninda. Numishomasiban, Onji Deshkan Zebing. Buster Deliri, Nijinkana. Abchigon, Migotwendam Nungum. Minwa Abchigon, Minwendam Nungum. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, cousin, for that really warm introduction. And thank you so much for welcoming me and the invitation to be a part of this really special day. I can't tell you how important this day is, because as you've heard from our previous speakers, the history of this school, the history of this territory. I mentioned in my introduction my connection to this territory. I'm from Kettle and Stony Point. I was raised by my maternal grandparents, Bonnie and Fred, in Kettle and Stony Point. But in my introduction, I always mention my connection to this territory is through my grandfather, who has passed away a number of years ago. And his name was Buster Deliri. And he attended Mount Elgin Residential School. And I always feel so deeply rooted in this land, in this place. And when I was first a student here at Western, this is going back like 20 years now, 20 years or more, I made friends at Indigenous services. So when I walked in the door here about 45 minutes ago or so, and I had like all of these like big warm hugs and everybody greeted me at the door, it felt so good. It felt so good to be in community, away from community. And so if there's something that you take away from this experience with you, it's that you always have community. No matter where you're from, where your territory is, that kinship and community is so important. And so I just wanted to open with those thoughts, that you carry with you the warmth of your community, that you carry with you the warmth of your kinship and your clans. You carry with you the strength of your ancestors. We heard from our clan mother, we heard from our speakers, we heard from Christy, we heard from Binigay about our ancestors. Because they're who carry us through. This was such a trying and challenging time to go to school. And as a teacher, I taught online in my very lengthy bio. I taught 3 courses online, and that was really challenging for me to adapt to, but also really difficult for my students. And some of my students were mothers, and they had families of their own, and sometimes they were sharing devices with their own children. And sometimes they were also experiencing difficulty because they were on the res, and the internet on the res isn't always reliable. And so they're always like on top of the challenges of like a global health crisis, on top of the challenges of life and motherhood or parenthood, there was like digital challenges, on top of institutional challenges. But they persevered, and you persevered. And I really feel strongly that it's because we carry the strength of our ancestors. We carry the strength of our community. We're supported by our fellow students. We're supported by a really great place to gather. And this is such a special graduation because you're amongst the first students to graduate in the Wampum Learning Lodge. And I feel really happy for you. So with that, I just wanted to congratulate the graduating class of Indigenous students in 2023. Now to this lengthy speech that I've done. I normally don't write things down. I'm very much off the cuff. But many years ago, and Binigay talked about this earlier in his opening, when I was an undergrad, I didn't go to my convocation. I didn't go to my own graduation, and I don't know if it was because I was in a rush to just get out of here. I don't know if it was because I didn't feel important, or maybe it's because there was nothing like this for me or for us, or if there was a space like this for us at the time. But I think it comes back to a sense of worth. I didn't feel my own worth. And I was also I think, in a hurry to get on with life. I just wanted to get out of this place. I just wanted to move forward and do all of the things. So I was in a rush too. But I didn't go to my convocation that year. And so I graduated in 2001, and I worked in my community, and actually in all of the communities, for about 10 years before I came back to school in 2011. And I did my MPed here at the Faculty of Ed. And things had changed a lot in that time. Things were moving a lot faster. This place, well, the Learning Center didn't exist, but it was an idea, or it was the seed of an idea, and it was growing. And that was amazing. But Indigenous services had grown, and it was amazing. The table was still there, that really beautiful, awesome table, because that was the same table that we sat at when I was a student. We all gathered around that table. But one of the things that was really interesting, and I keep coming back to this, was because in the MPed, I was working full-time in Kettle Point, and I actually didn't own my own laptop. And so for that first year of my MPed, I couldn't afford a laptop. And so I worked full-time, and I stayed after work, like late, and sometimes till like 11, 12. Don't tell my ex-boss, but I was there till like 1 o'clock in the morning, working on my assignments. And I was too embarrassed to tell people that I couldn't afford a laptop. And so in that first year of my MPed program, I was like working really late hours. I was borrowing other people's laptops, or I was like working on like other people's home computers until I could afford my own laptop. And I was embarrassed, I was embarrassed to tell people that I didn't have my own laptop. And so I was in my 30s then. And so it was in the last year of my program that I could afford my own laptop. So just a couple of years ago, like, I bought my third laptop. So anyways, yay me. But yeah, digital inequity is real. Digital inequity is real in our communities. And it's something I know that has always been a priority of Indigenous services to address. But digital inequity on the reserves are also very real. It's something that students on the res always struggle with, whether you're in elementary school or whether you're in post-secondary. And it's something that I definitely struggled with. So I'm always an advocate for helping students, to get those things that they need to succeed in school, because we come up against a lot of challenges. But having those things like devices shouldn't be a challenge, another barrier that we face in achieving our education goals. So anyways, I digress. I have another reason for being here, and it's my love of storytelling. And if you know me, and you know me really well, you know that I talk about three things. You know that I talk about my grandparents. You know that I talk about Star Wars. And you know that I talk about the Anishinaabe language. These are the things that I am so passionate about. And like I mentioned earlier, I was raised by my maternal grandparents in Kettle and Stony Point. And my maternal grandfather, just turned 87 this year. And in our family, he's the last generation of our family to be a first language speaker, a fluent language speaker of Anishinaabe. we have a handful of fluent speakers of varying degrees of fluency of Anishinaabemoan in our community. But my grandfather was born with that language intact. And so I grew up in a home where I heard Anishinaabemoan spoken as a first language. And he spoke it to me on a daily basis. So we have it was almost like a code language that we spoke to each other. And my grandfather and my grandmother both went to the day school in Kettle Point, where my grandfather was punished for speaking Anishinaabemoan. And so there's some colonial trauma there when it comes to Anishinaabemoan and language speaking with him. So he's almost a little shy when it comes to speaking language. And I have the same kind of shyness about Anishinaabemoan. And I'm not fluent, but I feel like I have a fluent ear. So I can hear the language and I can understand the language. And I have a degree of literacy in the language because it was taught to us in school. Like when they introduced language in the schools, I was probably around 10 or 11 when they started teaching language in schools. And that's when they introduced things like the FEAR writing system and that kind of thing. But I was learning two different ways of learning the language. But I heard it at home from my grandfather. So anyways, I have a love of the language because of my grandfather. And I have a love of storytelling because of all of my grandparents, because of all of the things that I heard from them. I call it the hot goss from 1932. And that's the best kind of gossip. You get to hear everything from your grandparents. So if you're close to your grandparents, or if you're close to, an older generation in your family, really listen to them. Really listen to what they have to say because you'll hear stories. And really hold those stories close to you. But I'm getting to the good part. I'm getting to the Star Wars part. So I had this crazy idea that I would translate my favorite quote from Star Wars into Anishinaabemoan for my keynote speech. And so I contacted a friend of mine who is also Western alumni and we were in our undergrad years here together. And his name is Mario Wasikizek. And he's also a teacher. He's also a language teacher. And so when I told him what I was going to do, he laughed because he knows me. And also because nothing really translates from Anishinaabemoan into English and vice versa. And I'll explain why. If you are multilingual or if you are bilingual, I call when you have an understanding of Anishinaabemoan, or if you have an understanding of your original language, it's like putting on glasses to see the world differently. Because those glasses will give you the lens to see the world through the eyes of your ancestors. It will truly, it's like breaking through the matrix. Like when Neo was looking at all of the code going down the screen, and he could pick out the lady in the red dress, he busted through the matrix. Because language is really a tool. It's not just a way to express ourselves, but it's a tool to understand the world. It's a tool for looking at the world through the programming lens of that language. So the quote from Star Wars, or the Star Wars universe, comes from Empire Strikes Back. So maybe some of you aren't familiar with Empire Strikes Back. And some of you might be familiar with Yoda because you've watched The Mandalorian, so you know like Grogu and Baby Yoda, but he's not really Baby Yoda. He's Grogu. We'll just get into semantics a bit that way. But if you recall the scene from Empire Strikes Back, and Luke is in Dagobah with Yoda, and Dagobah is a swamp, like Walpole. It's like surrounded by swamp. And the X-Wing, that's a ship, went down into the swamp. And Luke is trying to learn the ways of the Force. And so Yoda is trying to teach him the ways of the Force. And Luke just believes that he can't. He just can't bring the X-Wing from the swamp. And so Yoda is trying to tell him that you have to believe in the Force. And if you believe in the Force, then you can lift the X-Wing from out of the swamp. And I quote, I'm not going to use the voice. I know you want me to, but I'm not going to. Yoda said, "Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you, here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and the ship." And that's always been my favorite quote. And I thought, what if I translated that into the language? Because it's so powerful. Like, all you have to do is believe in yourself. All you have to do is believe that you can do it. Because when I was a kid, before I had a sense of like spirituality, before I had a sense of anything, I had a sense of Star Wars. I had a sense of the Force. And I thought, I can do it. I can lift the X-Wing. I can lift whatever is in front of me. So I talked to my friend Mario, and I was like, how can I translate this? So over this past month or so, he and I were working on a translation. And it was really hilarious, and I wish I could give you all of the outtakes and the edits, but I won't, because some of them are just kind of naughty. But we came up with a solution. And the solution is actually really poetic. And this is the summary of what Mario and I worked together on. And for the luminous beings are we. Gewa waskonemen. Gewa waskonemen. We're glowing. We're lit from the inside. I like that better. We are lit from the inside. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines glowing or lit from the inside as being a reflection of light or being surrounded in darkness. And for us, as Anishinaabe, we know that the darkness is a place where everything is possible. We know that the darkness isn't bad. We know that in the darkness, you look up at the sky at night and there's a billion stars. Anything is possible. The dark is a place of endless possibility. Gewa waskonemen. Luminous beings are we. Wewene gira debwewidis. You must really believe in yourself. That's what the Force is. Gira debwewidis. There's a word in there for debwewin, which is the truth. And that's also part of our 7 grandfather teachings. And there's another word in there for inendam, which is believe. Believe in the truth of yourself. Believe in your own authenticity. Believe that you have worth. Believe that you have value. Because in this colonial world, we have been taught that we don't have value, that we don't have worth. That's something that has been hammered into us. And it's something that I tell my students, because there's a painting by Christy Belcourt that I get them to look at. It's called The Wisdom of the Universe. And if you've ever seen it, it's just plants and medicines. And I tell them, look at this painting, and it's full of plants and medicines. And if you see everything in this painting, you see abundance in the world. And you see abundance in the world, and it's called the wisdom of the universe. Imagine if that's what you see outwardly. Imagine if that was how you looked at yourself inwardly. That abundance is also inside of you. And that's the wisdom of the universe, that you are as abundant inwardly as you are outwardly. You have worth. Believe in the truth of yourself. And lastly, Gide Minawenamin. Gide Minawenamin. We're all related. As you heard earlier, yes, we are. In some way or another, we are all related. Whether we are related through our blood, through our clans, through our community, through the people who support us and share this space, whether it's because of the land that we occupy, we are all related. So you must feel the force around you, here between you, me, the tree, the rock, the land, and the ship. Mampi between ki ni mitig asini aki minwa jimaning. We are all related, and the power in our connection to each other is what makes us stronger and healthier. Our connection nurtures us and supports us, and it also gives us responsibilities, such as through our kinship networks. In closing, remember that your kinship networks will support you, but that you must always be a good relative as well. And that's a clan teaching, that we have clans that support us, but we are also good relatives in return. And not just to our human relatives. We're good relatives to the non-human world, because we're the last beings in creation. We're utterly dependent on everything else around us. So we have to be good relatives in return. So we must care for each other. We are lit from the inside. Find your light and be a light to others. And that's how we will move forward together as communities and as nations and as kinship networks of people across Turtle Island. Ahau mi'o.
At this time, we are going to move into, we're a little behind schedule, but that's all right. That's all right. You guys just won't get to take photos. No, just kidding. You'll get to take photos. But I want to call up Director of Indigenous Student Services, Amanda Myers, to present there's 2 awards that will be presented at this time.
Miigwech summer. Katebej kikwe ndishnakas wabje shi ndodem and shnabe mino ameti andao bejo medekwe andao moni wanakaning and donjaba. My English name is Amanda Myers, and I have the pleasure of being the director for the Indigenous Student Center and getting to share and bestow upon some really amazing students an award this year. So our Dr. Valio Markennen Award is an Indigenous Award of Excellence established as a generous gift from the estate of Dr. Valio Markkanen, who was a well-loved doctor in Canada and the US and known for his positive relationships with his clients. So when we have applicants for this award, what we really look for is students who have those really healthy, strong relationships within community, Indigenous community, their home community, on campus, and really reflect and honor the value of relationship in the work that they're doing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and then I have a little plaque for them that I'll give them. So I'm going to start with Sarah Spence, who is Cree from Peguis First Nation and currently pursuing her Doctor of Philosophy and Educational Studies in Applied Psychology. Sarah has been volunteering with the First Nations with Schools Collective since 2020 and currently a graduate student assistant with Dr. Brent DeBossegay, where she is involved with the research circle comprised of Indigenous scholars within education. Sarah previously worked with Indigenous children and youth in foster and group care, where she worked closely with knowledge keepers to preserve Indigenous values and worldviews through the services they provided for the children and families they worked with. So very, very important work. Along with this work, Sarah engaged with the Indigenous staff on how to collaborate and better provide those services. The second recipient is Lainey Bolio. And Lainey is Dene Métis from the Métis Nation of Fort Resolution, grew up in Dinenukwe, Northwest Territories. She is currently in her second year as a medical student here at Western and is doing research on the utility of Dene peacemaking circles in relationship building and conflict resolution between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. That's hard work. Lainey holds several leadership roles within the world of Indigenous health and well-being. She is on the board of directors for both the Indigenous Physicians Association of Canada and the Arctic Indigenous Wellness Foundation. She is also a part of the leadership circle for the Indigenous Medical Student Association of Canada. Here at Western, she is the senior executive of the Indigenous Health Advocacy Group and the local officer of Indigenous Health for her region. Sometimes when I read these things, I am astounded by how much you do. You're truly phenomenal human beings and students. And on behalf of the Indigenous Student Center and the Office of Indigenous Initiatives, we want to thank you so much, deeply from our hearts. And I have some plaques for you to come up and
Yeah, wow is, I think you took my paper. Good. I was just about to go look at my paper. All right, so we want to call up our presenters and presenters of the stoles and gifts at this time. So we're going to call forward stole presenter, Mandy Bragg, academic advisor in the Indigenous Student Center at Western University. Gift presenters, Dr. Christy Arborzette, Vice Provost, Associate Vice President, Jennifer Flynn Clark, Dean of Students, Huron University College, Debbie Dolson Young, Post-Secondary Counselor, Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Jody Noah, Post-Secondary Manager, Southern First Nation Secretary. Let's give them a round of applause, our presenters. All right, get your cameras ready. Here we go. Our first graduate is Erdania Anderson, Bay of Quinte, Bachelor's of Arts in Philosophy, Huron University College, stole color white. Let's give her a round of applause, Erdania. Got a whole line of hugs and pictures there to take. Next up, we have Emily Camillo, Moose Cree First Nation Mushkegowuk, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, Stole color white. Give her a round of applause. Excellent. Pictures, pictures. Come forward, Shannon. What are you doing? Oh, turn around. All right. Stand in front of everyone, take a picture. There you go, yeah. Cameron Ford, Wikwemikong, Bachelor of Science with a major in Medical Sciences, stole color white. Give Cameron a round of applause. Excellent. Oh, take a picture. They're trying to take a picture of you. A round of applause. Caitlin Marshall, Kitagan Zibi Anishinaabe, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, stole color white. Give her a round of applause. Oh, picture time. Picture time. Don't go in here. Excellent. Round of applause. Angela Simmons, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Bachelor of Arts with a double major in Indigenous Studies and Social Justice and Peace Studies, stole color white. Picture time. Picture time. Excellent. Round of applause. Olivia Tom, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Bachelor of Arts in Indigenous Studies with a minor in Gender Studies, stole color white. Round of applause. Picture time. Serena Mondesabal, Cayuga Wolf Clan, Six Nations of the Grand River, Masters of Geography and Environment, stole color silver. Give her a round of applause. Round of applause for Serena. Next up, we have Carson Summers, Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Masters of Arts and Research for Policy and Evaluation, stole color silver. That does it for our graduates at this time. So miigwech to our presenters. Give them a round of applause. So as we did in the last graduation ceremony, we are going to be looking to our drum to give us an appropriate honor song for these graduates, the work that they've done and completed. And so what we're going to do is we're going to ask our graduates actually, if you could stand and you're going to turn and you're going to face your family, your community, that community that was a part of your journey here at Western, all those individuals here who've helped you out, your family and friends. And so we're going to ask you to stand up and turn, face your family. And we're going to ask the rest of the community to stand with them and pay that honor and respect that's due to them for the great journey that they've completed in this time here. So, Eagle Flight, if you would please. Let's hear it for these graduates. Beautiful work that they've taken up. Now they're going to go back to their communities and do the great work that's ahead of them. And we know that there's, when we went to school, it was like everybody just graduated like Indigenous studies, your typical degrees. And I'm reading these degrees and I'm like, geez, there's some fancy educations here. Some fancy people. But great work, and at this time we're going to turn it over to our elder to give us those closing words of wisdom and prayer.
Wana bajon in the way magana look. Ishkote makasan kwan disna cause mound odem the kajanon dunjaba. Oh. It just fills my heart to see all of this all of you being here. You're the answers to those prayers that were sent out a long time ago to bring forward those things that we need at this time. I can remember in 1995, which may seem like a long time ago, but it's a very short time, that we were invited to a repatriation of a Misho that had lived on this creation. We didn't know at the time how long ago his remains were uprooted from where they were. But he lived here 10,000 years ago. And we were invited to go to the ceremony for the repatriation into the land, to the earth, to put him back. And at that time, the children, I know my children are not all, but I don't know if Bindigay was able to go to that ceremony or not. But the littler ones, they couldn't go. So it was a most beautiful ceremony that happened at that time. And I can't even think of where it was now. Bindigay will remember. But up near Skugog, I think it was. And that ceremony was so beautiful. It helped make me more connected to how we are all thought of by the ones who have walked on this land before. Because this Misho walked on the land 10,000 years before. And he wanted to come here to deliver us a message. So when we think about all of those things that we think are just, oh, it's just happening, it is just there. We don't know that for sure, because this Misho, he needed to come back 10,000 years later to deliver this message. And so that was helping me in my understanding, and the people that were there in the understanding, we're not alone. If a Misho can come 10,000 years from the past to deliver a message to now, then that's the most beautiful thing. And it shows how much our people cared about us, how much they knew about the coming future for all of us, and how they sent these things for us to pick up alongside of the road, because they're there. And I see all of you have picked up some of those things and are already moving in those directions. I think about Summer and what she has picked up along the way. And I look around here at all of these ones who are here, of what they have picked up and are putting it in motion, putting it back into the perspective that we all need at this time in creation. And I look at you, and I think about the goose. I think about that goose too. So these are things, it's those interactions that we have with each other that are most important, our relationships. And it is the relationship to all of creation that is key to all of us. That's where we get our direction, and that's where we need to listen to what's going on inside of us, because the Spirit is always talking to us. It is us as humankind that need to understand what Spirit is telling us to do or asking us to do. And I can say, go back to what I said this before about learning how to breathe, learning how to connect to that inner part of you that's connected to Spirit and creation. And it doesn't matter what nation you are from. It matters that it's your personal connection to that place. That's who you are. That's where you came from. And it's those places that will carry you into the future, wherever that future lies. Right now, you may not know where that is. I know when I was thinking about when I was a little kid, what do I want to do in my life? I never thought I would be doing anything like this. But this is the direction I was to go, to come here, to go there, to deliver these different messages. Because in my way of looking at it, I work for the Spirit. That's who my boss is. That's who my connection is. And that's the one that will support me, as well as those ones that have walked on this creation before me. Those are the ones. So with those thoughts in mind, please reconnect to this beautiful day. Think about your connection to Spirit as I do this closing prayer. Just take a few moments to make that connection, and you'll be able to feel that and know it from the inside out and the outside in. Please put your feet flat on the floor so that I know you are connected to Spirit and creation. Okay? Ishkute makasin kwan disnikaz mondodem bekajanan dunjaba Buddha wadami odawa nishnabe kwanda niswi ade. Oh Chimigwachkishem for shining your light on us today, for opening up our hearts, our minds, and our spirits so that we can do our work, to help this movement of those that are coming behind us, of the things that we have learned, of the things that we had known, and the things that you want us to do for the future of all humankind, all of those ones that rely on all of creation to live their lives. Chimigwach for being with us today and opening up our hearts and our minds and our spirits to be as one. One heart, one body, one mind, one soul, one spirit, to do the work you intended for us to do. Blessings to all of those ones who are doing their work and watching over the ones coming behind us and picking up those pieces that you left for us to live life in the way you intended us to live. I said Chimigwech to you, Nakanagana, all my relations, aho.
Aho, miigwech, Morna. And so with that, that brings us to the conclusion of the official ceremony, the graduation ceremony. So let's give it up one more time for all of our graduates. And so there's a takeaway lunch, so you'll be invited to make your way on out. No, just kidding. But no, there's a photo booth here, but we're going to ask, we do have to move into the next graduation ceremony rather soon, so make your way over to the photo booth, get your photos with your family and your favorite staff persons or whoever it might be, maybe me. Just kidding. And then there's takeaway lunch as well. Also that there's tobacco ties, so we weren't able to have a fire today. We have a candle here representing, but we weren't able to have a fire, so the staff have put together a table over here where if you wish to, you can put a tobacco tie together that'll be offered to the fire later. So you're welcome to do that as well. Photos, takeaway lunch, congratulations. Miigwech, everyone. Now we'll go. Now on.